Hi, welcome to Get Known Be Seen WebTV. I'm Trish Springsteen, your host, and it's my absolute delight for this particular session to welcome Shannon Anderson all the way from Indiana in USA. Hi, Shannon.
Hello, it's great to be here.
I'm looking forward very much to our conversation. Good people, Get Known Be Seen WebTV, for those who don't know it, is a place where I have people like Shannon on who've got a message, a product, a book, something that they're being an advocate for, that they really want to get out there and they want to be known, be seen for. We also have experts on here who share their expertise on how to get known and be seen. So today we're going to be talking with Shannon. Now, Shannon Anderson is an author and a prolific speaker, and we're going to go into that in a minute. The way she gets out there and shares her books is absolutely unbelievable. Now, Shannon, as I said, she writes mostly children's books, and they're written on social and emotional topics. So I think these are freaking awesome books for our young today to be able to delve into and get some guidance of where they're going. Her newest book is Too Shy to Say Hi, and that speaks for itself. We'll probably go into this a little bit. She's also written Why is for Yet, a growth mindset alphabet, and a mindset power, a kid's guide to growing better every day. I love some of those topics, and I'm looking forward to discussing more of those. Shannon Anderson has taught for 25 years, from first grade through to college level. She was named one of the top 10 teachers who inspired the Today Show. We might delve into that a bit as well. And is also an award-winning children's book author and international speaker. You can go and learn more about her from her website, which is shannonisteaching.com. But most specifically, continue watching because we're going to learn a lot about Shannon in the next few minutes, few sessions. Shannon, you have a lot of history there. 25 years of teaching. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you want to share a little bit about how you went from the teaching from first grade to the college level and then into writing children's books?
Sure. So I taught I started out teaching first grade for about 16 years. And then I was asked if I would be a writing/literacy coach and also a gifted coordinator for our school. And so I did that for a number of years and really enjoyed that. But I missed being in the classroom and having my own, group of kids. And, you just bond with them during the school year. So it's different. And so I went back into the regular classroom and I taught third grade for the last 5 years. And in the evenings, I was also teaching college level. So students that were studying to become teachers, we had a local college here in town and they needed some more people to help out with some of those elementary education major classes. And I absolutely loved being able to get those kids ready to be in the classroom. One of my favorite things to do was to be able to take in student teachers and guide them and mentor them on their way to becoming a teacher. My oldest daughter actually is a senior doing her student teaching right now. So I can't wait for her to get in the classroom so I can continue to help her and get my teaching fix. But yeah, that's kind of my teaching. And I took this past year off as a sabbatical leave, thinking this would be a great year since I had 5 books coming out, which never happens in 1 year's time. I thought it would be a great year to travel all over and, do author visits and book signings galore. And, you know what happened. And so it's been a lot of virtual, you know, conferences and speaking engagements and author visits. So I just let my school know that, I would really like to extend it 1 more year to be able to do that. So I'm really hopeful that next year will be opened back up and I'll have the opportunity to do that because I absolutely love getting into schools and get to talk to kids and get them excited about reading and writing.
Oh, lovely. I love that. Reading and writing for children. There are so many issues with literacy out there for young kids and anybody who can really foster that love of books because that's going to stand them in good stead. I mean, I've been reading since I was, I don't know, really young. I've got heaps of books. I love reading. And I think it really stands you in good stead if you can. But we just need to get them interested in that. And sometimes it's a hard thing to do. So
Yes.
where did you go start the writing for the children? Because you went from the teaching and then you've been doing the writing. What sparked that idea?
Well, it's funny, all the way back in high school, my high school job was working at the public library, and we had a two-story library, and the upstairs was the adult section, and the downstairs was the whole children's area. And I was fortunate enough to get the spot where when the children's librarian left for the day at 4, I would come in after school, and from 4 to 8, I got to be the one in charge of the downstairs, the whole children's area. I loved it. And I was like you, I loved reading as a little kid, but then having that job in high school, I fell in love with kids' books all over. And I also loved it when, parents would come and they would send their kids downstairs while they looked around upstairs. And so I would help to match them to the perfect book. I would, sit there and read with them if there weren't very many people there. I loved being the one to process the brand new books coming in that no one else has seen yet or read yet. And I got to be the first eyes on it. So just those different opportunities made me excited about kids' books again. And I already knew at that point in time that I wanted to be an elementary teacher, but I decided that I also, teachers have all this spare time. Kidding. I thought, since I'll have my summers off and weekends, I could write children's books too. And in my senior scrapbook, I did write that I was going to be a elementary teacher and write children's books. But it wasn't until much later. I've only been writing children's books for the last 10 years. I felt like it was almost a little indulgent to pursue that because I knew that to do it right, you have to really learn a lot about the business side, about the craft side of writing picture books specifically. And I knew it was going to be an investment in time and in money. And I had young kids and, I felt guilty, I guess, to take away time and money to go off and learn how to do all of those things. But it just so happens there is this special teacher creativity fellowship that you can apply for if you're an Indiana teacher. And I applied, and it's wonderful because it's something that you can apply for if you want to pursue a passion. And it doesn't have to do anything with what you're teaching. The purpose is to refresh and recharge teachers. How awesome is that?
Yeah.
And so I applied for it. I know. I applied for it and I got it. And so it was $8,000 to pursue your passion. And you had to do it like in a 6-week program in the summer that you designed yourself. And so the way I designed my own little 6 weeks was I went off to Los Angeles to a conference that was a week long. Over 1,000 children's book writers and illustrators were there. This is the SCBWI International Conference. And I scheduled another week-long writing conference off St. Simon Island. And then I signed up for online coursework and I bought my first laptop computer. And I used up, the whole 6 weeks and the whole 8,000 investing in learning anything and everything I could that particular summer. And, it's funny, that very first conference that I went to that I'd ever been to for children's book writing, I submitted a manuscript to their contest and I won first place for the kids division, which was, I guess motivating to keep going. And the funny thing about that though, I always share that with writers that I'm now helping to become children's book authors. I share that story because that was 10 years ago. And guess what? The manuscript for that story is finally coming out next year. It took that many years for that particular manuscript to finally find its publishing home. And so, I just always say, hang in there because you just never know when a story is going to find its home. Sometimes it's a little sooner and sometimes it's way later. So
Awesome. I love that. That's a testament to tenacity and resilience.
yeah,
Just keep going and don't let anything get in the way. Awesome. I
right.
love that. I love that program that for Indiana teachers. That's a great program
It's
for
wonderful.
teachers.
Yes.
People other areas should be looking at something like that because teachers do they got so much on their plate that they can start to get burnout, and that really would get them going again. So
Yeah.
children's books. We were talking a little bit beforehand because I was saying how I really admire authors who write children's books because I think there's such a really interesting niche, but also I think a difficult niche because you've got to write from the aspect and perception of a child. So
Mhm.
just tell us a little bit how it feels and how you were able to do that. what were the main points that you have to look at? Because I know you said people look at picture books and children's books and think, oh, they're very simple writing, the simple words, they're very easy. They're not that easy, are they?
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I teach full day picture book workshops, and there's like a full day part one and a full day part two, and that doesn't cover everything. I'm teaching another one this coming Saturday, actually. And, part of the challenge is today's market is a picture book might be around 500 words, and the trend is 300 to 500 words. So that is the biggest part of the challenge, is to create, if it is a fiction book, to create a plot that happens from, has the whole narrative arc from beginning to end in 32 pages
Yeah.
and only 500 or less words. So that's a challenge in itself. But then there are also all the other things, like making sure that every one of those words count, and making sure that it's something that's going to be engaging for kids, and figuring out ways that, parents will also want to purchase the book for their kids, making sure that you're not too didactic with your messages. And especially I have to be careful, doing a lot of social and emotional topics, that I'm not hitting them over the head with the lesson. You want it to be a story that's either relatable, that kids can see themselves or relate to that character, or maybe it's just for entertainment, or maybe it's something to teach them, something, an informational type book, a nonfiction book. So whatever that is, there are so many layers to learn about writing those books, not just the words, but the word choices. And then, what point of view are you going to tell it from? Are you going to have a narrator, an outside person? Is the main character going to tell the story, or is it going to be directed at the reader? What tense are you going to put it in? It makes a difference if you do it in present tense or past tense. There are just so many different layers that go into it. And deciding, how all that is going to come together into a package that, especially if you are not a professional illustrator like I am not, a package that is going to be half your words and half illustrations. Because let's face it, a picture book, the pictures are pretty important. And so when you're not the illustrator also, that becomes an additional struggle to figure out, like, how can I write this in a way that the illustrator will be able to then take it a step further, and trusting enough in the process that they are going to be able to figure out what you had in your mind, but also take their own twist to it, because you don't want to step on each other's toes. I don't want to direct the illustrator, just as I wouldn't want them to call me and say, the way you worded this, I don't like this. I want to draw a picture of this.
Yeah.
And so you have to think of it that way, because, I can't be constantly directing the illustrator either. And so that is a balancing act. And if you publish in the traditional market, you don't have much say over that. An art director and editor are going to be conducting the dance between the editor and the illustrator, or the author and the illustrator. So I don't get a lot of say. I mean, I get this wonderful email at one point in the process where I am sent the illustration sketches, and then eventually they come in color, and I'm allowed to give some input, but it's more of, is there anything that's really blatantly not right that we need to fix, more so than a critique of the art or anything like that. But I've been very fortunate to have such wonderful illustrators chosen for my projects, and I couldn't be happier with them.
That is, yeah, just in those words, you have explained to, and hopefully highlighted, that a children's book is not the quick thing that you think, I'll just put a few words, get a couple of pictures, and we'll be right. I think from
Right.
that aspect, I'll stick to my nonfiction and my memoirs. I think I can do that, because the concept of trying to bring down a whole message within 300 to 500 words, there is a particular art in that, in doing that. And not just 300 to 500 words, but 300 to 500 words that children are going to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not always easy as well. I just
Right.
want to touch, you go through a publisher. So I think that happens a lot with children's books, more than information books, memoirs, and even fiction books. We see a lot of self-publishing. Do you see much of that with children's books, or it's still very much the traditional way?
It's funny you asked that, because there has been a surge in the self-publishing for picture books. I feel like, because the quality has gone up. There is so much, I mean, like, the digital capabilities and people are learning how to do them, and the companies that are offering hybrid publishing or self-publishing, all the different independent publishers are now offering a much higher quality book. Whereas it used to be, back when I first got started, even back in SCBWI, the people that were self-publishing weren't recognized as much. They weren't involved in they weren't allowed to be in as many of the different award categories, or to be able to participate in certain things if they weren't what's called published and listed, like in a traditional publisher, with a traditional publisher. But now, I mean, they have Spark Awards and all of these different events and things recognizing self-publishers, because they're seeing how some people have just learned that and mastered that, and they can produce a book that you would have no idea that it's not from a really nice traditional publisher. So I feel like that has gone up. And then with the surge also in workshops and online courses and things that are being offered in those different categories of self-publishing, I think people are learning more about that. And the traditional market, one thing I will have to say is you have to have a lot of patience because it does take a long time. It takes a long time for a publisher to, first of all, accept your manuscript and say, yes, we'll make this into a book. There are a lot of rejections along the way. And so that can be hard. You have to get a thick skin and just take the feedback as, free critique. And then you have to, go through the illustration phase, someone else is illustrating, which that may be the case if you're self-publishing as well, but it just takes a little bit longer in the traditional publishing industry. So sometimes by the time you sign a contract, once you're fortunate enough to get a contract, by the time you sign, you may have 1 to 2 years before your pub date. And so it does take a long time, versus if you self-publish, you might be able to work out a deal with an illustrator that doesn't have a lot going on, and you might be able to have them finish in 6 months. I've talked to people that have something, like they want to publish something to go along with a talk that they do or a business that they have. And so they have a need to get something out sooner. So they'll go the self-publishing route as well. I haven't ever said that I will never self-publish. If I learned enough about it, or I found someone that I trusted enough to take me through the process, I might consider doing that. Right now, though, I've been really happy with the books that I've had through traditional market. So that's where I'm kind of aiming at this point. And I do have an agent, so that helps as well.
Awesome. Yeah. As I understand, yeah. And having an agent for traditional publishing is probably the best thing to get, because you're not going to get very far with a traditional publisher without that. You need someone to be your spokesperson for that. And I want to talk to all prospective authors about that. You mentioned that your children's books are very much on social and emotional topics. Let's have a little chat. Why that direction? And how hard do you find it being able to pull those together?
I like being able to use books in my own classroom as mentor texts. And so for me, I like to, write about things that I wish I had in my own classroom. So for that little amount, those years that I was helping with the gifted programming, I paired up with our school counselor, and we were trying to come up with lessons that we could do to help some of these students with social and emotional issues and some of the things that we were seeing. And so, for example, one of the issues that we saw a lot was perfectionism. Kids would be so hard on themselves. And, for some reason, they learn that saying, practice makes perfect. And that is so not true. Practice makes progress. And if you're trying to seek perfection, it's like running a race without a finish line. And so how stressed are you going to be if you never are going to see that finish line and you just keep going and going? So I wanted to be able to have something where there's a character that something that is not in her control happens, and that she has to still get through it. She has to figure out, how she's going to deal with that. And so I wrote Penelope Perfect as a book to show how this girl, she has a certain routine. Honestly, she's a little bit OCD on top of being a perfectionist. And she has, a certain plan and program that she likes to follow every day. And when that doesn't happen, when the power goes out one night and her alarm clock doesn't go off, we have to see her deal.
Oh.
And so that's just a way that, we can share with kids through a character. Okay, this is how she felt. You can see how frazzled she is, how upset she is, how worried she is. But then look what happened. And then you can see, she notices the things she was missing out on because of how strict she was with herself. And she realizes that going with the flow is not a bad thing, and sometimes things happen that are not in our control. So I started with that one, was kind of I'd written a book on kindness before that, but that was kind of the first real social and emotional issue I tried to address head on. And then I went to another big thing that we see, especially in the high ability programming, is underachievers. You've got these kids that have this wonderful ability, whether it is academic or artistic or whatever that might be, but you just don't see them performing. They're not motivated for some reason, they're reluctant. And so trying to dig into, well, why is that? And how can we help with that? How can we get them inspired to do the things that we know they're capable of doing? And so that's why I wrote Coasting Casey, to figure out what are those passions we can infuse in with the things that they're reluctant to do, to get them excited to do those things. The example I always give at author visits is, I don't enjoy dusting my house, but if I can crank up the music and I can dance around while I'm dusting, it's a lot more fun. So you have to find that thing for you. What is it that could take this, if you don't enjoy doing this report that you have to do, what could you do with it that would make it more fun? Like if you love to do art and music, could you turn it into something where you write it as a poem or a rap song and you present all the facts that way? Or maybe you make models of birds, or you make a poster or something where you're drawing and painting birds. Would that make it more fun for you and exciting for you to be able to share that information than just through a written report, for example? So those types of things. And then when I started learning about growth mindset, I was like, oh my goodness, where was this when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Because I so believe to my bones what growth mindset can do for you, in believing in yourself and learning from your mistakes, all of those things that are so important and help with, in my opinion, all of the other social and emotional issues. So
Absolutely.
I wrote the Y is for Yet Growth Mindset alphabet book, because then I was able to use the vehicle of an alphabet. So I had 26 letters that I could teach 26 different concepts about growth mindset thinking. And then I wrote one for the publisher asked, well, what about making one for the older kids though? Because that would be for younger. And so I wrote Mindset Power, which is a middle grade. It's more like 3rd through 8th grade is the range that I've been seeing kids pick up. And so that one is also growth mindset, but it's in a chapter book form, and I have discussion questions and things to help kids through that, little quizzes they can take to see if they're more fixed mindset or growth mindset, and positivity versus negativity and their thinking patterns, just different things like that. And then my newest one, Too Shy to Say Hi, this one is coming out on the 9th of this month. And so this one, of course, is on social anxiety. I see a lot of kids that miss opportunities because they're just shy. They have a fear of, maybe making a friend or talking to someone, initiating a conversation, trying something new. So I wanted to have a book that would also show a character that just takes small, brave steps. It doesn't mean you have to get up and go present in front of an auditorium of people. It means just, taking that small step of saying hi to someone, or asking, could I sit by you? Is that okay? Or if it's a younger kid, like, do you want to hang out on recess? Just that simple little thing, little steps, practicing in front of the mirror, even if it seems silly, those little things that you can do to be able to muster up the courage to get to do those things that are making you a little scared.
I love that. I love that last book. Being an introvert, and more specifically, when I was way back, what I call the Jurassic period, when I was in school, I was very much a shy introvert as well. So something like that around to help those people, in especially in today's world, where you've got to get out there and be seen. Which brings me to just want to touch a little bit on, as a children's author, with those awesome books that you've got. How many have you got now at the moment?
14, and
14.
I have another one coming out next year. So
Wow. So how do you promote those books? How do you get seen? How do you say, look here, hi, here I am? Who do you
right.
target, and how do you go about that?
Well, you have to kind of think about your people who are going to be purchasing the books, right? Because my audience is little kids, so they're not exactly allowed to go on Amazon and
No,
empty
so
their piggy banks to buy the book that they want. And, when I first started out, I wasn't even thinking in terms of how can I move these books? It was more of how can I get to talk to teachers about these books? And when I first started speaking, it's funny because the very first speaking gig I had, I was terrified. I didn't want to do it. It was part of, I'm a grant writing queen. Like if I want something to happen in my classroom, I will write a grant to make it happen. I mean, I have written so many grants over the years. Well, this one particular grant that I had written, there was a little, like fine print in there that if you were given the grant, that you had to present at the state reading conference about how you use that grant money and how it was such a great opportunity. And I had to do it. And so I was terrified. And I remember that day just shaking and thinking, oh, no one's going to come in here anyway. And my room was full. And I shared what it was that I did with my grant. And lo and behold, the teachers were very interested and they wanted to know more. And so then I was like, wow, I helped people. And then I got the bug. I wanted to speak. I wanted to have that ability to help and reach out to teachers other than in my own school. And so then I ended up, getting more involved with, the state reading council. I ended up becoming on the state reading board. And then I was presenting every single year for them. And, for speaking, a lot of my speaking started out as not a thing to be paid for or anything. I just enjoyed being able to share things that work in my classroom. So particularly since I love writing, one of my biggest things I'm asked to present on is writing, getting kids excited about writing in the classroom, and also for teachers, because a lot of teachers don't feel comfortable teaching writing. Because I know, like, in our college preparation here in the US, there aren't a lot of colleges that have a methods for teaching writing class. So a lot of teachers don't feel comfortable teaching that. So I love it. I have found ways that, I can engage young writers and get them excited. And so that's something I like to talk to teachers about, as well as social emotional topics that my books are on. So when I'm speaking at teaching conferences, which I do a lot of gifted conferences and a lot of reading conferences, I do some library conferences, but that is really the audience that I need to be speaking to, because for one, I want to be able to do additional professional development with them. But for two, that's what my books are for. Like when I'm talking about how to help kids with social and emotional issues, I want to be able to offer them a tool. And so I can say, here are some books that can be mentor texts for you. As you're trying to teach kids what growth mindset is, you can use these, and you can use the discussion guides. And if you have a perfectionist in your classroom, you can use this as a mentor text. So things like that. I've also written some books for teachers. Go the Extra Smile is all about getting, kids excited about learning. And then Be an Amazing Writing Teacher. Guess what that's about? Being able to be an amazing writing teacher for your kids, be a writing cheerleader for them. So that has probably been the biggest way I've gotten the word out about my books is, here are some great mentor texts that you can use. I also, share other books, of course, but then I also tell them, when I'm finished talking, if you ever want to bring me to your school to, deliver professional development to your teachers, I love doing that. But even more than that, I love being able to do an author visit. Let me talk to your kids.
awesome.
And so that is the way that I've gotten a lot of opportunities to get to talk to kids. And then when you do an author visit, of course, kids think it's a treat when they can get a signed copy of the book from the author. And so that's really my favorite way. I mean, of course, I have a website, I have an email list, I post on all the different social media, but my very favorite way is being able to connect with an audience and speak and help them there at the whatever event it is, but then to be able to give them the choice, would you like to bring me to your school to help you further? Like I can niche in and I've done things where a school invited me to come and teach their kids about growth mindset. That was it. So I met with different grade levels, taught them about growth mindset. And then that evening they had a family night. And then I was able to teach the parents about growth mindset and how they can support growth mindset thinking in their kids. So there are all different ways, that you can branch out from, things that you are helping teachers with to then help kids with and others.
Awesome. I love that. When people who are watching, you need to go back and replay what Shannon said, because you will have missed, if you didn't get it all, you will miss some of so many gold nuggets in how to get your message out, how to be an advocate for whatever passion you've got. There's gold nuggets there in what Shannon had to say, because it's about reaching out for opportunities. It's about being passionate about what you do. It's about just standing up there and remembering it's not about you. If you've got a message, if you've got your book, like Shannon has her children's books, she had important messages on social and emotional issues, and just took that first step of courage to realize that she couldn't keep it to herself and she had to speak. And it's about the people that she was reaching. And I think there's some really great gold nuggets in that little session. So go back, rewind, listen, then go back and rewind again and listen again, because there's a lot of information in there. We could talk for hours on this.
I know.
I want to get a couple of little other things in there.
Sure.
What was I going to say? Okay, so you've also been part of another group. It's 1,000 Ripple Effects. It's
right.
thing, and I think that's how we met in that respect group. That was about reaching out. Now, as a children's author, what do you think caught your attention when that opportunity was to provide a small segment to reach out? It was a story to our younger selves, I think, something like that. What was it that caught your attention for that?
I love being able to contribute to books like that. I've done Chicken Soup for the Soul, and it's funny that the book that we worked on was 1,000 Ripples, because working on a Chicken Soup for the Soul ended up having ripple effects after that, and became a whole book of my own after my short story had been in there. So anytime an author asks for contributors for a certain topic, if it's something that I feel passionate about, that I might have a story to also share that would help with that, then I'm all on board and love to be able to do that.
It's a really great way to be open to opportunities, and just, it doesn't matter what sort of author you are, always look at the opportunities that come, because there are ways for you to reach another audience. It's just how you phrase your story and being open and not closed in your thinking. So before we go, there's a couple of things I wanted to ask. I guess maybe, what's your biggest lesson or insight that you've had from an absolutely jam-packed career? You need to go onto Shannon's website and see how many places she speaks, the schools she speaks at, the people that she reaches and changes. So in that time, you're teaching, for your books that you've been getting out, and the whole concept, what would be your biggest lesson or insight that you could share with us today?
So a couple of things. I think one of the lessons that I've learned is, it's kind of like when you're trying to decide if you're ready to have kids yet or not. And there is never going to be a time that you are completely ready financially, emotionally, or whatever, or your house is big enough, or whatever that might be. And it's kind of the same way in life with anything that's a big decision. And so I've learned that, and I actually just posted something about this today. We're never going to be 100% ready for anything. And so many people I've noticed are afraid to write that book, because they're like, well, I'm just not ready yet. I just don't know enough yet. Or I just, whatever, fill in the blank. And so you just have to remember that. Are you ever really, though, going to be 100% ready? No. It's just like with teaching. When I first started teaching, even though I'd had the college degrees and everything, you're never going to be 100% ready for that classroom every year. Even, I mean, every year you get a new group of students with new personalities and things you haven't dealt with before. So just having courage to step out and try something. I would have never thought in a million years, back when I first started writing, that I would now be teaching full day picture book writing classes. But, the reason that started was because I had so many people reaching out to me saying, well, how do I get started? I really want to write a book. And I was spending so much time, helping people here and there and everywhere, that I decided, maybe I could just contain this time and do, group coaching or something. And that's when I decided, maybe I'll just teach it as a class. And that's what I've been doing. And I've been able to help a lot of people. But the other thing is, regarding help, the other insight that I'll impart is what I believe in, and what I think has helped me is helping others. So I've always believed in Maya Angelou's quote that, when you get, give, and when you learn, teach. And I've just always kind of had that in me. I think that's the natural teacher in me, that when I learn something, I'm trying to figure out and translating while I'm learning it. How can I teach this to someone else? This is really cool. And so I've always been that way with what I've done in the classroom and what I've done with writing. And then I also believe in Zig Ziglar's quote that, if you help enough other people get to where they want to be, then you're going to be successful too. And, not that, because you don't do it because you're looking for your success, it just happens. So as you're reaching out to someone else to help them along their way, then that builds community. It shows people that you care, and you're able to help people. And then when maybe you need help sometime, they might help you. And I just always have found that to be true. So those two those two quotes are things that I live by: helping others as much as possible. And anytime I learn something, figure out a way that I can then share that with others so that they can learn it too, and we can learn from each other. And that just seems to be the most organic way to meet others and help others and get to spread what you're doing. I've never paid for like Facebook ads or anything like that. I just feel like if you help enough people, word of mouth is worth gold. So if you can get people to believe that you do care and that you do want to help, that goes a lot further than, me spending a whole bunch of money putting myself in front of people, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolute awesome sense, Shannon, because that's the genuine, authentic person behind the book, behind the teacher, and you're letting that shine through. And awesome insights. I really think that is on point for people to take on board. If you are genuine, if you do it, you're going to be reaching the people that need to. And it's always about, not you, but about the people that you can help and the people you can reach. Now you have a free gift. You do a free classroom Zoom visit.
Yeah.
Share a little bit about that.
Yes, I love Zooming in. I mean, I would love to be in person even more so. But when you asked if there was something that I could offer, I would love to offer up a classroom Zoom visit. So I will do some Q&A with your kids. So whoever Trish chooses as the winner for that, she'll give you my email address, or you can go on my website and I have a contact me. ShannonIsTeaching.com is my website. But I would be happy to set that up with whoever the winner is. And if you aren't a teacher yourself, you might have kids that are in a classroom. I could do their classroom, or you could gift it to someone. But that is something that I just absolutely love doing. So I'll be happy to do that.
Awesome. Look, if you're interested, there'll be information below. You can let me know and we can pick someone. I think this is an absolutely golden opportunity. These interviews are global. It goes right around the world. So this is a golden opportunity for someone to have Shannon come into your classroom. I have a lot of teachers, people I know are teachers, and they would be very interested in probably getting something of a different viewpoint and something a little bit different for the children. And everybody now is, if anything came out of last year that I think is a benefit, it's that we are now able to reach globally. And people are more used to being able to connect on Zoom, and it opens up opportunities for us that we just did not have before. So that is a big plus out of last year.
Yeah.
Shannon, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. And as I thought, we didn't touch on half the things. How much we could have spoken about.
Another time, anytime.
Another time. Look, people, we've been here and you've been listening and seeing Shannon Anderson, who has been sharing so many gold nuggets. I'm just telling you, you need to go back, rewind, and re-listen, because there is so much for you to take away. I've thoroughly enjoyed speaking with Shannon because Shannon is a children's author, and she has brought to us a little bit of a different perception on, it's not just pictures. It's not just throwing a couple of words. You have a great responsibility as a children's author, and you need to be able to come from a perception where the children can understand. So Shannon shared some really great ideas and concepts for people out there who may be thinking about going along that line. The other things that's come out of there is how to get known and be seen. Things straight across, and people think, oh, I've got to do different things for different places. What Shannon's shared about her journey on reaching out, being able to reach out because of her specialty, and having to do it through the schools, finding out the best place to reach the children she wanted to. Those things that she shared, speaking and looking for opportunities and being open to them, are what you can do in any area of expertise that you've got, whether it's a product, a message, or a book that you want to share. These are the same sort of things about letting people find you. It's all about making it easy for your clients, your audience to find you. And these are some of the things that Shannon shared. You've been watching Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. As I mentioned, it's all about people who have got a message, a product, a book, something that they want to be an advocate for, to step up and have that opportunity to share it with people. This is your opportunity to be able to be seen and be known. It's also a place where I bring in experts who show you how to do that. They share their expertise. So if you would like to be a guest on my show, just put a message below, comment below, or you can contact me. My contact details there. And you too can get up and take advantage of being known, being seen. I'm Trish Springsteen, Australia's leading expert in empowering introverts. I'm a multi-international award-winning mentor and an international best-selling author. Most specifically, I'm your host for Get Known, Be Seen Web TV. Hey, if you would like me to be on your show or to come and speak on your stage, again, just contact me in the links below and I'd be happy to be there. Before we go, one last thing you need to do, people. There is a brilliant button there that says subscribe. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and you will always be notified when there is a new Get Known, Be Seen Web TV interview. And you will then make sure that you will never miss out on awesome interviews, just like the one we've had of Shannon. Until next time, be good, be known, be seen. Thanks, Shannon.
Bye-bye. Thank you.